Interesting. And I'm curious if you also just know, was there a court case or something that happened legally that started to shift and allow cats or dogs to start to be viewed as having value?
Yeah, so I think starting in the early 1900s, again, you would have these cases where somebody's dog would be hit by a train, somebody would sue the train company, nothing would happen because the dog wasn't property. But as pets, as their status starts to increase, and I write about this in the book, this is around the time especially where dogs are coming indoors. Dogs start coming indoors in the late 1800s because of flea and tick shampoos. Let you bring your dog indoor. Nobody wanted a dog. It wasn't even if you loved your dog to pieces, you wouldn't want your dog inside because your dog had parasites and your dog smelled terrible. And you wouldn't want that in your house. And so that's why dogs were out in the doghouse, or chained up in the backyard or whatever. And cats weren't coming inside because, Dan, to your point, and this was, the case with my family a little bit growing up. You let your cat roam the neighborhood. There was no litter, kitty litter wasn't invented until the 1940s. And so even if you wanted to lock your cat up at night, where's your cat going to go to the bathroom? And so as cats and dogs start coming inside, this is one of the things I write about in the book. I think this is probably the most important thing that's ever happened besides the initial domestication, with the status of cats and dogs, us sort of bringing them inside where they're no longer an animal. They're not even no longer a pet because but they're coming inside, they're starting to sleep in your house, they're sleeping on the couch, they're sleeping with you, they're sleeping with your kids. All of a sudden, this is, in my opinion, this is the beginning of the road to them becoming family members. And so you have this happening, you have the rise of the pet industry happening around this time, you have the rise of veterinarians starting to pay more attention to, cats and dogs are something we should pay attention to, not just cows and horses. And so when these cases start coming before judges, now all of a sudden cats and dogs have this importance they didn't have before. And slowly but surely judges start saying, okay, yeah, this cat has value. It's worth $50 or, whatever. This dog's worth $100. And that builds and builds and builds until, you have people, decades later fighting over custody of their pets and all this other and dogs getting lawyers and all this other stuff that's been happening in the courtroom over the past couple of decades. But that really starts with judges starting to acknowledge that, okay, these are entities with a legal value and that we can start assigning. And if people hurt this animal or steal this animal, there will be legal repercussions, which never happened before.
Very interesting.